social animals, and again, we're strongly influenced by the behaviour of others. When I asked you all to stand up, again, you probably looked to see what your other people around you were doing, and as they were standing up, you thought, oh well, I'll stand up as well. This is how clapping works. Some person starts clapping, and then suddenly this ripple of claps kind of go through the audience. Hopefully you'll demonstrate this when I finish the talk. But you're walking along the street and you see two restaurants. One has a big queue outside, the other's empty. You're much more likely to go and stand up into the restaurant that has a queue, because you assume that the people that are eating there can't be wrong. And again, there was a little bit of a queue out of the door here, which hopefully meant that people thought, oh, this looks like it's going to be an interesting talk, and hopefully I'm not disappointed. Actually, when I am eating in restaurants with friends, I often just ask them what they're eating. Not because I really want to know, because I don't. You know, I'm not showing my interest in their lives, which is bad. Hopefully none of my friends are in the audience. But it's often just used as a technique for me to kind of figure out, well, if that's what they're eating, what should I eat? And we do this all the time. Another thing that we get from people is an understanding of the social norms. So when I go to a new city, and I'm standing at a crosswalk and there's a red light, I look around to see whether people are crossing or not. And in New York, if they're crossing, I'll probably cross with them. And in LA, if they're not crossing, or frankly in LA, there's no pedestrians anyway, so it's difficult to tell, I might not cross. So we look to the social norms. But this can break down. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've been standing in front of an ATM, or a cash machine, or a ticket machine, and there's one that's got nobody in front of it, and there's one that's got a queue of 3 or 4 people. And suddenly you realise that the one that's got nobody queuing in front of it is actually working. You just assumed because everyone was queuing up, it was broken. And I see this all the time, and there's an interesting mechanism. What tends to happen is 2 people will be at the machine. One person comes up behind and chooses one of the other queues. That person at the opposite machine disappears, and the person behind thinks, well, can't really be bothered moving to the machine because this guy in front of me is going to finish soon. Then the next person comes along and sees a queue of 2 people and joins that queue, and suddenly it gets really long. Nobody thinks to actually go and check the machine to see if it's working, because we don't want to be embarrassed in front of our peers. And this technique can be used against us, and often is. Often restaurateurs will offer 2-for-1 discounts, and bars will offer happy hours around 6 or 7 o'clock to fill up the venue. So when you're walking past at 9 o'clock, you see it's really busy, and you assume it's because the food is good and not because they're getting cheap deals. Similarly, a lot of bars and restaurants will limit the number of people that come in, not for fire reasons, but just to make sure that it looks like there's a long queue outside, so the place looks really popular. So again, how can we use these techniques online? Well, Firefox came to us to redesign the add-on site. And they were worried that, they had this site that was massively popular, but people didn't realise, they thought it was just a kind of geeky techie thing. And so one of the really simple things we did is just bubble up the number of add-ons or the number of downloads that people have downloaded to say to people, this isn't a niche activity, this is something that hundreds of people, thousands, millions of people are doing. In retrospect, I would have preferred to actually have the numbers of individual people rather than numbers of downloads, because that's more kind of social proofing. But this has a real big effect, and I think, well, actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say how much of an upshot they got from just doing this little redesign, but it was quite significant. I travel a lot, I go to lots of different countries, and when I go to somewhere like Paris, I don't know what hotel to go to. And so I look at something like TripAdvisor, and I trust the opinions and values of a whole bunch of people I've never met before. And this can be really useful, and I go and look down the top 10 list and pick one of the hotels in the top 10 list that looks interesting. However, this can also backfire, because I don't know these people, and I've been to hotels which I thought would be really nice because they were #1 list. And actually, maybe it was voted by people who are older and want a little chintzy hotel, who are backpackers and want something cheap, or who are a businessman who just wants a classic kind of business-like hotel, whereas I'm more into my kind of boutique design style hotels. So, social proof can lead us astray. And we all know the masters of social proof at Amazon. I mean, they have so much social proof on the website, from the numbers of ratings, the numbers of reviews, the place that this book is in the sales charts. All of these little ideas, all these little bits of social proof are intended to nudge us in the right direction, to assuage any kind of issues that we might have about, is this the right product for me? And again, LinkedIn is all about social proof. It's about using your connections and using your network to say, yeah, this person is a great developer, this person is. Going back to 37 Signals, Every good salesman, every car salesman, every professional salesman knows the power of a testimonial. Testimonials can be incredibly useful. And we always think, oh yeah, we'll stick some testimonials on the site, but to do it really well takes some thought. So if I'm a user for, if I'm a prospective customer for Basecamp, I'll come here, and if I'm a big company, and I see badges from other big companies, I go, okay, this company is like me. Other people like me use this service. Similarly, if I'm a designer, and I see, oh, Kuba partners are using this site, well, it must be good. So the idea is not just to get this persuasion and this social proof from random strangers, but to actually target specific audience types. So if you're setting up a website, let's say, to market your services, don't just stick people like you. I've seen lots of websites where it's just a bunch of kind of generic 30-year-old kind of dudes saying, yes, this company is great. Get a whole kind of raft of your different users to persuade those people that this is the right site for them. And lastly, this kind of idea of we take the social norms from people around us. If you've ever been to Dig and you see the comments on Dig, which are often not very complimentary, that is likely to make other people follow suit. Because you look at the audience and you look at the people using the site and go, oh, okay, well this is how the community behaves on this site. I'll behave in a similar way. Similarly, Flickr, when it started, put a lot of effort into the way that they talked to their users and the way they treated their users. Because what they realised is the very first users would set the tone of the whole site. So if you're designing social sites, you need to be really conscious of how you build that initial community, because it will affect the way your whole site grows. And again, we can nudge people in the right direction. If we want to encourage people to behave in certain ways, we can set up top 10 lists. We can give them badges of honour that say that they've acted in a socially responsible way. And then one thing which is a really good idea is take those model citizens and promote them on the homepage. Because when people come to a new site and they don't know the rules, they're much more likely to go and look at other people's profiles to see, well, what's happening here? And how do people behave and how do